Hello, you've caught me at confession, for I am a video game sinner. My transgressions are many, and I wish to repent. Well, I say that, but I've been doing all these bad things for years, and there's not really much evidence I'm about to stop, if I'm honest with you. Really what I want to do is share my video game sins to see if I'm the only one who's guilty of them, because I bet I'm not. I bet all of you lot are just as dastardly as I am, so get in the comments and tell us which of these you need forgiveness for. Here are 7 deadly video game sins we all need to confess. Number 1, lust. Now, I was just going to use this entry as an excuse to write about Solid Snake's perfectly contoured stealth suit buttocks in Metal Gear Solid 2, but if it's a sin to be transfixed by the detail of these glutes every time he walks up a set of stairs, then quite frankly, prepare me a VIP suite, Beelzebub, because I'm moving to hell permanently. No, the real sin I commit here, and it's a temptation I wish I could resist, is lusting after new games when I already have loads of perfectly good ones I still haven't finished. This generation has been a video gaming Garden of Eden, AAA forbidden fruit growing all over the flipping place to the point where it's impossible not to bite. Like, in this metaphor I'm now hunkering down in for the rest of this entry, there isn't even a snake tempting me here. Instead, there's so much gaming fruit that as soon as you open your mouth to say wow at one of them, you're almost involuntarily chowing down on the next. Oh, the games I've left unfinished because I couldn't resist the lure of the next big thing. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I'm sorry, it wasn't you. It was Red Dead Redemption 2. And Red Dead Redemption 2, why did you trust me? You must have known Kingdom Hearts 3 was coming. Even you, The Last of Us Part 2 with your impeccable everything. I confess I was thinking excitedly about the then upcoming Ghost of Tsushima while I was still playing you. And then, when Jin Sakai strode into my life with his flute and his water stance and his flowing samurai robes, I succumbed to a moment of weakness. A moment of weakness that lasted nearly 60 hours. Forgive me! I've abandoned my games! I have lusted after new adventures. Video game sin number 1. Number 2, gaming gluttony. I have done this thing a few times in my life, and every time, while I'm doing it, I can hear my own muffled morality screaming from within the mind prison in which I've locked it. Stop! You're ruining everything! Stop! Just stop, please, please! Please stop! The thing I'm doing right now, binging a game I've waited years for and finishing it within days, sometimes even hours of its release. I remember doing this with Final Fantasy IX. I mean, it had only been 2 years since Final Fantasy VIII, to be fair, which, compared to the agonising wait for Final Fantasy 15, is like a blink of a development cycle's eye. But to me, at the time, it was torture. For months, I bought every single magazine that contained even a whiff of Final Fantasy IX. A paragraph here, a screenshot there. This keen-edge obsession only made sharper by the fact America had the game a whole 3 months before we did in the UK. Finally, the release date rolled around, the 16th of February 2001, and I raced home from Electronics Boutique, my copy cradled to my chest, and shoved it in my PS1, and played, and played, and played, and played. 50 gameplay hours and 4 real-world days later, I emerged from my bedroom, simultaneously elated that I'd played Final Fantasy IX, and also crushed that I'd played Final Fantasy IX. This frenzied devouring of a game is something I've done many times since, and usually it's Final Fantasy games. I took a week off work to play Final Fantasy 13 and had the whole thing wrapped up by the Thursday evening. When Final Fantasy 15 came out, I was staying in a hotel for a work trip. I took my PS4 with me and woke up jet-lagged at 4 a.m. to play the game solidly until 8 p.m, breaking only to phone room service at lunch and dinner. And Metal Gear Solid 3, maybe the most excited I've ever been for a video game to come out, a sequel I'd waited 3 years for. Let's just say my dad phoned soon after to say he'd seen an advert for the game on TV and to ask if I was going to buy it. My answer was I'd finished it twice already. Gluttonous game binging out of uncontrollable excitement. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. I will do it again. Greed is our third sin, a little sin really, this one, and it involves the hoarding of unnecessary items, usually in RPGs, because you never know when you might need a bowl or a tatty second-hand book or a tomato, do you? In Skyrim, this kind of item-gobbling greed often manifests as your character stumbling through the game, over-encumbered by the amount of useless rubbish weighing down their inventory. And so begins the dance of rifling through your bags of virtual refuse, trying to separate what you don't need from what you really don't need, and then chucking the latter on the floor. Video game greed can also take another form, the bad things we'll do to NPCs in our single-minded pursuit of trophies. I wanted that Skyrim Platinum. I earned a few trophies and simply wanted more and more and more. And so there I was, just running through the game, picking pockets, trying to hit the 50 pockets picked for the Thief trophy, try saying that 20 times in a row, and hoarding as much gold as I could for the Golden Touch trophy. Also, some innocent shopkeepers may have been murdered along the way. For those really bitten by the trophy hunting bug, 1 platinum often leads to 5, leads to 20, leads to 100. Ah, greed. What do people with platinum trophies want? More platinum trophies. Video game sin number 4, sloth. Laziness, indolence, self-pity, whatever you want to call it, I am guilty of it, most notably when confronted with something difficult. Whereas virtuous gamers will die against a boss and then try until they eventually overcome the challenge, what I like to do is cry and immediately give up. What can I say? I don't like to exert myself beyond my comfort zone, to the point where I now don't even bother the first attempt at some things anymore. Most notably, if it's a trophy asking me for a playthrough on hard mode. No, I'm not doing it. You can't make me. I'm putting Pez on. Go away. A slightly less potent version of this sin would be when you get someone else to do the hard bits for you, which isn't that bad, I guess. At least you're showing willing to persevere with the remainder of your adventure. One time, I was the person called upon to help my younger sibling with a tricky boss battle, Engine, in Crash 3 Warped back on PS1. My sister wanted help, so I beat the boss for her, and then, out of brotherly spite, I did a hard reset on the PS1 while she was saving her/my progress. Corrupted her entire memory card. I don't even know if there is a sin to describe that level of pettiness, to be honest. What an awful person I am. Number 5, wrath, a sin at which I am an expert.
What are you supposed to do in this position? What's happened? What's happened?
There is a difference between just getting angry at a game, however, like here in Fall Guys, and the full-on sin that makes up this entry, the rage quit. Now, I'll admit, I've done this many times. In Fall Guys, loads. Not during a live stream, obviously. There I have to keep the pot on the heat and sit there while it boils over. But the worst game for rage quitting, for me, has to be FIFA. Now, this is one sin I can honestly say I have not committed. I have never once rage quitted a game in FIFA. I've rage shouted, I've rage sworn, I've rage hurled my controller on the floor, but I just can't bring myself to rage quit because my response to getting angry in FIFA is to try my absolute hardest to score the next goal. And so if I'm ever in a situation where I'm winning and my opponent rage quits, that hits me harder than conceding a jammy winner in the 94th minute. This is wrath evolving into spite here, a kind of petulant, well, if I'm going to lose, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of it being properly over 90 minutes. Look at this. Losing the game, opening the menu, dribbling past all the sensible options, having one last wrathful shot, and scoring a rage quit. You should be begging for forgiveness after this. Sin number 6, envy. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbour's endgame armour sets. It's heartbreaking, isn't it, when you start a game and you're doing well, maybe you've just crested that first difficulty spike, you're past the honeymoon period and into the game proper. No longer is your character sporting the default armour and weapon from the game's front cover and promotional artwork. You're onto the proper stuff now, wielding quite good swords and wearing a breastplate that looks okay. And then some boastful Burke who's probably committed sin number 2 and scoffed the entire game in one sitting posts a tips video on YouTube or something, and you look at it and see their armour and their swords, and all of a sudden your hero looks pathetic in comparison. Envy sets in. You start to lose motivation. Sometimes you'll look at these videos and see combat skills that far surpass your own. This is a dangerous time, because at this point envy can lead to wrath, can lead to not so much rage quitting, but sad quitting. What's the point, you think to yourself? I'll never be this good. I had this when I was playing and thoroughly enjoying Ni no Kuni 2. I was building my Kingdom of Evermore, thinking it was great, and then saw a video of someone else's Evermore on YouTube, resplendent in S-rank glory, maximum money, all buildings upgraded, all settlers found. Ugh. Envy. Uncharacteristically for me, I persevered with Ni no Kuni 2, and the Evermore you're seeing in this video is my Evermore, a city I built from scratch, and that contributed to my earning of the Ni no Kuni 2 Platinum Trophy. Jealous? Now, what am I doing? Sin number 7, that's what? Pride. Something I disagree is a sin, actually. That's what I'll tell whatever angel happens to be doing the heaven admittance interview after I'm dead. Unless, of course, it slides into boastfulness, in which case, get out of here, no one cares. My least favourite form of pride is when you get people who like to brag about how good they are at games. There's a fine line here. Sharing screenshots of your platinum trophies is, I reckon, a perfectly reasonable thing to feel proud of, and genuinely good for you. What really gets my goat, however, is when people, in response to you saying you find something challenging, simply respond with, "Oh, that bit's easy. Oh, I did it on my first try. You must just be a noob. Do you even play video games? I mean, come on, get good, am I right?" This raising of oneself, not by your own achievements, but by trampling on the feelings of others, is a most heinous video game sin. Every one of you, and you know who you are, who says things like, "Oh, Dark Souls is easy, actually. You just have to, be amazing at it. Repent, you sinner." I mean, yes, obviously, to Lewis Hamilton, driving a car really fast is easy, but that doesn't mean it is for the rest of us, does it? Boastful pride serves only 2 purposes: to make you look like a world-class douche, and to make everyone else feel bad about themselves. So there you go, the 7 deadly sins of video games. How many are you guilty of? Confess all in the comments and all will be forgiven. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Click that notification bell so you always know when our new content goes live, and join us again next week for another Friday feature. Thanks for watching, and catch you again soon.
プレイステーション